All right, welcome to Collaborations with Spirit. 21 channeled messages to activate your energy system and create from divine flow. I'm your host, Christina Miglino. Welcome, welcome. It is so wonderful to be here with you all today. And I am so excited to introduce to you an absolutely beautiful and amazing woman. Her name is Anaiya Sophia. Some of you know her already. Anaiya is a miraphor. She's a mystic and author of transmissive wisdom. She carries an oral mystery that stirs the remembrance of a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without the need for permission or recognition from any other source. So powerful. Welcome, Anaiya.
Hey, Christina. It is absolutely wonderful to be here.
Yes, it's so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So let's just jump right in. And I would just love to hear a little bit about how you were introduced to spirituality as a young person.
Well, for me, my initial moment was when I was 12 years old, coming down the steps of Sacré-Cœur in Paris.
Uh-huh.
And I saw what would look like a homeless young man begging on the steps. And I was absolutely magnetically drawn to him, which is a little bit odd. You got to imagine I'm a British schoolgirl.
Uh-huh.
I'm running towards this young man who appears homeless, and he's in his 20s. And that is so not me, but at that time it was so very, very me. And that was the beginning. And what it was immense love and recognition. So it's a little bit like agape, that real worship. I was an only child. I was incredibly shy. I really despised social situations, and I felt that school was really noisy and really hectic. So for me to do this was such an odd thing. And yet in his eyes, I remember saying to my mum and dad, because they were present, I remember saying, I am not alone. There's another one like me here. Wow. And in my little 12-year-old brain, it was as if I was seeing an angel, because up until that point, I felt very alone, very isolated, very lonely. And I just felt that the world was just way too noisy and way too fast.
Yes. And a lot of people listening are going, yep, that's how I feel too, right? Oh, yeah. My heart goes out to that 12-year-old you. I totally understand.
Oh. Bless you. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, thank you, first of all, for sharing. What a beautiful story of just witnessing that love in another person.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your sacred mission, what you're up to now.
Well, my sacred mission shape shifts as the decades pass. So I've come through a very prolonged period of time that was really about sacred sexuality, the beauty and holiness of the sacred prostitute, sacred union. So that has been the last sort of 10, 12 years of my life. I'm now coming up to my 50th birthday, which is bringing in a totally different energy and way of living. And what's coming through me now is the fierceness of the fierce feminine, but the realm of joy that sits in.
Beautiful.
So it's like a really full-on message that's not just sexuality, although there's a part of it that is there, but it's more like the entirety of life. But also this kind of fabulous, freeing joy and beingness that goes with becoming 50.
Oh, I love it.
It's like everything, all the shackles have been loosened off now. It's like Okay, here we go. There's no one to impress. It's very freeing.
It sounds very freeing. I
Yeah.
can't keep the smile off my face as you're talking about it. So it looks very joyful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about, I know that you really are, I think of you as somebody who's really the holder of wisdom around the divine feminine and the interplay of the feminine and masculine. So would you talk a little bit about, so even in my own life, I really get the sense that the divine feminine, as we all are well aware, is rising. She is here. The goddess is present.
Mhm.
And yet we're kind of still swimming in the breakdown of the masculine paradigms. And it's
Absolutely.
funky, you know? It's like, how do we recognize, I think a lot of times it's hard to recognize the divine feminine in the face of some of this like heavy duty driving masculine energy. So how do we step back and recognize and honor it in our lives? It's kind of a big question.
Well, I would say, I mean, one of the quickest ways for me to get into my feminine energy is absolutely music. So music, movement, dance, even, I know this is going to sound really weird, but this is what I do, so I might as well be absolutely transparent. Full length mirror. Full length mirror. When I'm dancing, when I'm moving, I want to see myself. I want to see the beauty. I want to see the weirdness. I want to see whether the body is agile or stiff. There is something about reflection, the reflective surface. This is very feminine. And if I don't get a good dose of that every day, or at least every other day, I'm going to start heading towards that masculine part of me that is so operative. And this is what I say to the men and women, because often us Western folk, we look at the situation of our male and female energy. We notice that the masculine is very high functioning, very operative, very brilliant. And we might have a tendency of trying to negate that and just like push it back down again. But I say no, leave it exactly where it is, because it's brilliant. By golly, this machine knows how to create.
Yes.
We'll have to raise the feminine energy at least to equal that, or maybe to go over it, to go above it just a tad, whilst we figure out this new harmonium, this new balance. So it's really not about bringing that masculine energy down or under wraps in any way. And so anything that's wild, anything that's unpredictable, joyful, playful, innocent, beautiful, generous, a sense of performance, all of this is feminine energy. And so, you know, whatever community you're in, it's to look out and source, where are you going to find that kind of support?
Yeah, absolutely. So something's just coming up right now. It's not on my list of questions for you, but it has to do with this collaboration with the divine feminine and masculine. And I'm curious what you think about sort of the future of that. Like, are we headed into a time where androgyny is going to rule, or are we going to always be in this interplay of the two dancing together? I'm just curious what you think, because I think about these things sometimes.
Oh, same here.
Yeah.
The word androgyny has always had a little bit of a sort of negative and sort of dull and boring flavor to me. And yet I can see that us men and women are really creating this sacred union, our internal sacred union. That is so apparent. And it's a very apparent thing inside of me. But I don't see that I'm becoming androgynous in the way I've understood that word.
Sure.
For sure, a third element is coming into being. But it's more like the heightened potential of the feminine and the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So the feminine part is becoming more joyful, more loose, and you have no clue what's going to happen next. It's a surprise. And the masculine part is also becoming very potent and a little bit, it's got a charisma.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm noticing in all innocence, in a playful innocence, I'm kind of flirting with both genders, but not because of the old paradigm. I want something from this person. It's more like I'm flirting because I simply want and have to pass this gorgeous energy. Man, woman, and child. That's the masculine part of me. A little bit flirty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, this third being is being created.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not anything associated with what I thought being an androgyne was, which was like neutrality.
Yeah, I feel exactly what you're talking about. And it's maybe not the correct word, but it's as close
The only
in my
one we
brain
got.
that I could think of at the moment, but it's being created, who knows? It's like what you said with the divine feminine. We don't know. It's something new. It's alchemizing as we speak. So that's special.
Yeah.
So please talk a little bit about your relationship with divine flow and how we can align with it. So a lot of this show is about how do we align our soul with that creative flow so that we can really create the new earth. We can go out there and do exactly what needs to be done to bring in the divine feminine and masculine here.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know about you guys and gals out there, but when I'm not following or listening to my divine flow, I start to notice, first of all, it's an ache in the heart. Then it's a feeling of like, something's missing. Mm-hmm. And then if I miss that one, then it starts to become agitated and irritable. Mm-hmm. And what this little 3-stage internal message is, it's the beckoning for me to go to what I call my favorite chair. It's a chair on the porch. And what I do is I just write in my diary, in my journal, and I'm sat in front of the garden. So I'm looking at this beautiful rose garden. It's a tiny little thing, but it's amazing. And that is how I get into my inner flow. And it's simply to ask the question. I even ask silly old question, which goes along like, are you there? And immediately the inner self responds. And it's like a camel drinking at the oasis. It's like, oh, finally, you're in your chair. You've got your pen and you've got your journal. Finally, you're listening. So it's again, after this call or during this call, what are your inner nudges that's calling you to your divine flow? The divine flow wants to tell you something. It wants you to act upon something. And this might not be some great big gesture out there. It might be an inner contemplation or just an inner feeling. Be with me. Be with the inner self.
Yeah, so, that's so beautiful.
Golly, it's important.
Yes. And what you're saying just is it's such a reminder to slow down enough that we notice those nudges. Because we can't do anything. We can stay in our cranky, uncomfortable, that sadness in our heart, but we have to actually be able to slow down enough to notice it. And that's what I think of when you're talking about that.
Yeah. That's so amazing. Like at the moment, I'm reading this book called The Gospel of the Beloved Companion. And, my inner self says, please just read a paragraph, close the book, and just lie down. Lie down and let's contemplate this together. That's all that she's wanting. This is what the divine flow is asking. And from that one paragraph will come a fountain of other information.
Yes.
Now, if I'm in my masculine and, paying no attention, then I'm going to get nothing other than the paragraph, which is already amazing. There's hidden depths in that divine flow.
Absolutely. This brings me to another question about when we do allow the flow to come in, and it really is what we thought was a puddle is really an ocean,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what happens? I'm just getting a sense that for our audience, like, okay, what do you do with overwhelm when you have so many creative ideas flooding in that you're like, I don't even know what to do. It can be stifling for some people, you know? What do you do?
Well, that is where the divine masculine comes in, because that's what the feminine's going to do. She's going to show you the ocean. She's going to reveal the enormity of it all. And then, you can even say to the self, thank you so much for this incredible insight, but can we just pause on that for a moment? I need to switch over now into my divine masculine, my clarity, my step-by-step process, my how-to. And so in comes him, and he will be able to literally break everything down into bite-sized, achievable steps. But you'll have to be a master or a mistress of your own energy, because the feminine is going to want to go, yeah, but. And we go, no, sweetie, please pause for a second. This is so amazing what you're showing me, but I need a framework around this. And we're going to just take one step at a time. And then again, mastery and mistress of the energy, whatever the masculine shows you, step one, follow it precisely to the T. Don't try and chop off a corner. And then it's sacred union.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love that you put it in the masculine and feminine, because it is an honoring of the whole thing. We're not destroying anything. We're asking it to say yes to everything.
Yes.
And that's the time we're in. It's a huge opportunity for growth and creativity, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this brings us to a moment where I would just really appreciate it if you would take us into a guided message or a channeled message for the audience, if you could do that.
Well, it's something that's fresh. I'm literally back home after 3 days in the French Pyrenees, up high, beyond the roads, beyond the cars. And myself and Pete, my husband, we were walking with a donkey.
Okay.
So we were walking at donkey pace, which slows everything right down. And I knew that this question was coming up. And so I was contemplating and really just feeling the presence of the natural world. And for me, the presence of the natural world, the Holy Sophia, the Holy Spirit, this is all one and the same thing. This is the feminine Godhead here on earth, made manifest in nature. And of course, we are nature. So I was inquiring, what is the highest beingness for us right now? What is our work right now? And the message came that no matter what you see on Facebook, no matter what you read, and no matter what crosses your path that may show some kind of, the world is collapsing, earthquakes in California recently, we've had a huge heat wave in Europe, crazy heat. So as all of this comes, the divine feminine, I swear in all of my authenticity, this is such a paradox, said, stay joyful, stay beautiful, stay as I am. So yes, see everything, witness everything, don't spiritually bypass. Don't minimize, don't exaggerate. But whatever comes your way, maintain joy, maintain beauty, and maintain kindness and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that is a huge alchemical piece of work. Because when we were here, in France in the 40s, we don't do 40s, the hottest we ever get is about 32.
Mm-hmm.
So here we were sitting in 42-degree heat. This is like Egypt.
Yeah.
I didn't have that message at that point. But I can see, oh my gosh, this is high alchemy. To actually be exposed to the changes in nature and yet hold this kind of dignity of the sacred feminine. That is the work. That is the work on earth.
Yeah. That
And
is
I
so
don't know
beautiful.
what that's going to bring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, yay, and then everything will be okay. The end.
Right.
I don't know whether it's that, but I can see how that is potent alchemy. That is a transmutation right there. What
Yes.
it could lead to is the authentic birth of this new earth. Because we're really witnessing the end of the old. Eyes wide open, heart wide open, really witnessing, and yet still dreaming and visioning in the new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like having your, in shamanic language, we talk about having one foot in both worlds at one time, right?
Yeah.
And it's very similar. It feels like, and it actually like it brings emotion. Like it feels like we need to have one foot in the old and one foot in the new, and honor and still like really move forward into the unknown.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful just to be, I can just see you in nature having that experience with the donkey of slowing way down with the, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
May we all be brought, to that vibration of slowing down and tuning in to nature and the animals around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Anaiya, what are you most excited about right now in your life?
I'm really excited about, I hope this doesn't sound too much like me and mine, but I have recently wrote another book. It's called Fierce Feminine Rising. And it's this new voice, it's this new person I'm becoming because of the turning of half a century. That's just amazing.
It's so cool. It is.
And a definite feminine energy switch. It is so true. This is so real. This rite of passage is so real. And it had this terrible sort of like, ooh, the menopause and, all your energy just drains away. But what I want to say is, no, it's not a draining away. It's an upsurge. If you allow the unshackling and the mask stripping and the body and the mind and the everything to just go with it. Not fake it in any way, not hold on for dear life to your youth with white knuckles, but just to let it shapeshift you. So this next book coming out in January, I'm very, very excited about that. Because it is about the earth changes. It is about extinction of certain animals and wildlife, but it's also about how all of this is affecting the mind and the emotions. So it's all very well pointing out, the dark agenda out there, but there's also an internal influence that is also dropping all sorts of random crazy thoughts into our mind on purpose to keep us well and truly hooked up into the old matrix.
Yeah.
It's a revealing of all of that, but again, in this joyful spirit, which gets it past that conditioning program.
Yeah.
And your genuine beingness, where you can actually start seeing it for what it is.
Yeah. So what I see as you're talking is you talk about like going past the old agenda, and it's almost like this is just something that's personal, and you tell me what you think, but I've been really playing with this idea that there are all these different energies,
Mm.
and it's really not that they're just light and dark. I mean,
Mm.
we can call it that, but that feels like kind of old school,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it feels like there's all these energies, and yeah, some of them do not work in harmony,
Yes.
so it's like pushing past the old paradigm that, oh my gosh, there's the dark and the light, and that feels so combative.
Yes.
You
Yes. Yes.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of embracing something else, I think.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way I see it, I see the light, and if we're looking at the old dualistic model,
Yeah.
what I'm seeing now is that these two energies are kind of like the most complementary, which again sounds weird, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you allow this dance to unfold, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be pushing you, pushing you, pushing you into your sovereign, authentic self that we
Mm-hmm.
actually need in equal balance these two energies. And
Yes.
again, it's a little bit like the masculine and the feminine. We were talking earlier about the androgyne,
Right.
because, yeah, I got a funny old feeling by the end of this dance, we're not going to be a light being or a dark being.
Yeah.
We're going to be this new, mysterious third being that has been fused and spliced and emerged
Mm-hmm.
because of the dance of the opposites. No,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're absolutely right. The light and the dark is the old model. But
Yeah.
if we look at the old model, it's trying to shift us into
Yeah.
the third, the new.
I think so. And I think that what you're talking about, when we are seeing, like activations, this word
Mm,
activations, and within the title of this interview series, activate your energy system. I
mm,
think that it's possible when we allow ourselves to be outside of that duality that something new is being activated. It's like what you're talking about, right? It is the
yes.
alchemical shift happening that's bringing these energies together,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. Putting words on things that we don't understand is so fun.
No, that's right. You need a few more words.
They're coming. I'm sure they're
Yeah,
coming. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we have just a couple more minutes, and I know that you have a beautiful offering for the audience. If you want to just talk about that, let them know what
Yeah,
it is.
this is a transmission. This is so it's like a spoken journey, a spoken emotive meditative journey of using the voice to connect you with what we were talking about earlier, what I call Holy Spirit, which is also Holy Sophia, which is also the natural presence, personal presence of the natural world. And I created this one because Holy Spirit often goes flying out the window if you turn your back on any kind of Christian religion, which is really, really sad because Holy Spirit was around a lot
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
before any form of religion, let alone
Yeah.
one that's only 2,000 years old.
Mm.
So this is what I want to bring this transmission to people with, that they can realize, this presence that they may have enjoyed whilst being in the Christian faith doesn't
Mm-hmm.
belong to the Christian faith, that it's actually a feminine presence of the Godhead that's always been here on this planet and always will be whilst this planet is both energetic and physical.
Mm.
Doesn't belong to anything. So it's a little bit like a reunion. Yeah, that's the word. A
Mm.
reunion with this force, or maybe a meeting with it for the very first time.
Yes, beautiful. I'm so excited for that. It's so
Yeah,
necessary. We need
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. Well,
Mm.
is there anything else? I could talk to you forever, by the way.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I just
Yeah.
want to, is there anything else? Yes. And that's to thank you so deeply for this conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish you the absolute immense luck and grace with all of this and your creativity and your voice in the world.
Oh,
It's been
thank
absolutely
you.
adorable.
Thank you so much, Anaiya. It's been a blessing, an honor, a privilege. And thank you to our audience for joining us. And stay tuned. We have many more interviews for you, lots of ways to engage with myself and the speakers, and some beautiful gifts and discounted offerings for you. So thank you and take care. We'll see you really soon.